When Mirage starts, it starts small on purpose. Four brothers, a sensei, a rooftop war. And then, almost immediately, the series hits you with the thing that becomes the template for the entire Mirage run. Every time the turtles step out of the shadows, the world gets bigger and more complicated. The early expansion stretch is where Mirage starts to build out the full foundation, not just who they are, but who their orbit becomes. And how fast the stakes can jump from sewer level street crime to sci-fi to mystic time type stuff and then back again. Immediately after everything that happens in the first issue, the second issue doesn't go straight into something even bigger. It goes into consequences and new variables. We open with the turtles in Splinter watching the news as New York is introduced to Dr. Baxter Stockman and his rodent killing robotic Mauser, demonstrated publicly with the help of April O'Neil, his assistant. Splinter immediately treats this as a real threat, warning the boys to be careful. Time passes, and the city is getting hit by bank robberies with a weird signature, small tunnels into vaults. April connects the dots and suggests the Mausers could do it. Stockman dismisses her and then takes her deeper into the lab and reveals he's building an army of them. April realizes the truth. The Mausers are robbing the banks, and Stockman's planning something even worse, blackmailing the city by undermining corporate skyscrapers and threatening to collapse them unless ransoms are paid. And when April tries to run, Stockman traps her in the elevator and drops her into the sewers and then sends Mausers after her to finish the job. That's the moment that Mirage supporting cast really begins. The turtles intervene, destroy the Mausers, attacking her, and bring April back to their home. When she wakes, they tell her their origin. Then they see Stockman on TV making his demands, and April joins them in deciding to stop him. They break into Stockman's place, confront him, and get trapped in the basement when he sets off an explosion. They punch their way into a new room, and it's a storage space full of Mausers. It turns into a swarm fight until Donnie and April manage to shut down the power in the cellar, including the Mausers. So immediately, Mirage establishes a key rhythm. April isn't just a friend, she becomes a human bridge for the turtles that they didn't have before. And Baxter isn't just a villain, he is the beginning of a long trail of fallout. In issue 3, we pivot hard. It's still tied to the Mausers, but now it's about how fragile the turtles' life actually is. They return to their sewer lair and discover that Splinter has been abducted by the Mausers. They call the only person they know who can help, April, and she shows up with a van. And here's where Mirage does a very real world thing. The turtles get dragged into a high speed mess because the police mistakenly think April's van is connected to a robbery. The chase only ends because the chaos leads the cops to the actual robbers in a van that looks identical to April's. April and the turtles escape and regroup at her apartment and plan how to find Splinter. Meanwhile, Splinter's side of the story is brutal. He fights the Mausers in the sewer, takes a serious blow to the head, and when the Mausers suddenly march away, he crawls through the sewer half conscious. Then he's discovered by human guards and taken to TCRI. And at TCRI, Splinter discovers the humans aren't actually human. The staff are Utroms, small aliens using humanoid robotic bodies as disguises. That reveal is huge and would have long-standing ramifications for the Mirage continuity because it tells the audience something that the turtles don't yet understand. That the city has layers, and the turtles have been living under one of those layers without even realizing it. Next, we go to the first of the micro series. These are small stories that Mirage put out about the individual turtles to give you more of a character look into each one of the brothers. And so it begins with the family. Raph is sparring with Michelangelo, loses his temper, and goes after him with a wrench. Leo breaks it up and sends Raph outside to cool off, and Raph, alone on the rooftops, starts questioning his own anger and self-control. Then we meet Casey, weightlifting, watching TV, deciding the police need help. So he puts on a hockey mask, grabs a golf bag full of sports gear, and goes out to punish quote-unquote vile scum. Casey runs into some muggers and stomps them, enough that Raph tries to stop it because it's going too far. That becomes the core conflict. Casey thinks that Raph is interfering. They fight, Casey fakes surrender and sucker punches Raph with a golf club and then escapes. They clash again and again, and Mirage makes the moral line explicit in the text. Raph tells him that not every crime deserves capital punishment. Casey fires back that Raph isn't exactly innocent of rage either. Even though Casey is introduced in another person's story, he's not a side character in Mirage. He's a mirror held up to wrath, a warning about what you become when violence turns into an identity. Issue 4 is where early expansion stops being subtle. The Turtles go after Splinter at TCRI, and the break-in escalates into chaos inside the building. They discover the Utroms and Splinter in a stasis tube, and their reaction is that they see him there and assume the worst. Their outburst and the damage it causes becomes a key domino. The true turning point here is the transmat, the Utrom's translocation device. During the conflict and malfunction, the Turtles end up displaced, and they collide with something far outside their normal reality, the Fugitoid, Professor Honeycutt. And now Mirage has expanded its sandbox yet again. Not just ninjas and streets, but aliens, teleportation, and an ongoing interstellar war. This is where we switch to the Fugitoid #1. It fills in the backdrop of why Professor Honeycutt matters. He's a brilliant mind whose work includes anti-gravity and transmat technology, but a lab accident kills him as a human. His consciousness ends up in a robot body, leaving him physically transformed into the Fugitoid. His inventions make him the most dangerous kind of person in a war. Not a soldier, but a key. Two factions want him. The Triceratons, who want his transmat tech to win their conflict, and the Federation, who also want to control the technology. Honeycutt is trying to survive and avoid handing world-changing weapons to anyone. And his flight, his desperation, and his tech are what intersect with the Turtles' accidental displacement from TCRI. In issue #5, the Turtles are transported to the alien city of Pleabak by the transmat device. Soldiers confront them immediately. The military is hunting the Fugitoid, and the Turtles get caught in the crossfire because they don't even realize Honeycutt is behind them at first. They flee together, literally leaping off a structure into a garbage truck down below. As they hide and regroup, Honeycutt explains where they are and who he is, and the Turtles agree to an alliance because all of them are being pursued. Their search for help turns into a bar fight, and then the Triceratons arrive, capture Honeycutt, and the Turtles chase in an air car. The chase becomes an air battle. The Turtles crash, survive, and stumble into an all-out conflict between General Black, his forces, and the Triceraton troops. They try to rescue Honeycutt, but he's taken onto a ship that blasts into space, and the Turtles end up trapped aboard without gravity or oxygen. Issue 6 moves the action onto the Triceraton home world. Honeycutt is being pressured to build the transmat for them, and the Turtles are treated like prisoners, forced into an arena situation as they plan escape. The escape attempt collapses into even more chaos, including internal Triceraton conflict. And the end result is that Honeycutt and the Turtles are caught in the transmat's power field and teleported yet again along with 3 Triceraton warriors. Back on Earth, this interstellar mess is now colliding with the real world. April is watching news coverage of the TCRI building sealed off and surrounded, worried about what's happening on the inside. Issue 7 is where Mirage does something wild. It doesn't just add lore, it reframes the origin event itself. Inside TCRI, the city is reacting to beams of light erupting from the building, and the National Guard prepares to force entry. Inside, the Turtles, Honeycutt, and 3 Triceratons recover from teleportation and brawl yet again. Then the Turtles reunite with Splinter, alive, and Splinter explains he fought the Mousers, went unconscious, and was found by the Utroms and brought to TCRI to heal. He also explained something crucial. The Utroms had no intention of helping the Turtles after the damage and behavior they displayed. Splinter had to convince them to bring the team back, and the Triceratons were brought along by accident. Then the Utrom explained their story. Their ship crash landed years earlier, killing a third of their crew. The survivors integrated into society using android disguises. They amassed wealth, bought the building, and built the transmat. And then comes the bombshell. The Utroms accidentally caused the ooze incident. A blind man walked into the street. Their vehicle swerved. A canister of alien ooze got dislodged, struck a young man in the head, then bounced into an aquarium full of turtles a boy was carrying, shattering it. And the turtles and canister fell into sewers where the turtles were bathed in the ooze. See, Mirage is now locking its own origin into the larger sci-fi architecture and doubling down on where it was meant to begin in the first place. See, They couldn't come out and say that it was an extension of Daredevil's intro, but they were absolutely influenced. And Kevin Eastman still to this day openly talks about that. As the guard attacks the building, Honeycutt helps program the transmat to get people to safety. The Utroms teleport away. The turtles choose to follow rather than be captured. The building is set to self-destruct, collapses, and April watches the news in fear until the turtles and Splinter suddenly appear in her bathtub. So early expansion has now done two major things: connected the turtles' mutation to the Utroms and made Earth's secrecy a ticking time bomb. Between the heavy sci-fi chapters, Mirage drops one-shots that are not filler. They're part of how the book makes the turtles feel like people. We've got Michelangelo, #1, The Christmas Aliens, where Mikey is walking during the holiday season, finds a stray cat, names him Clunk, goes shopping, ends up stumbling on robbers hijacking a truck full of little orphan alien dolls meant as donations for an orphanage. The robbers fire on Mikey. He fights back, rides in the truck, and tries to deliver it himself, which triggers a police chase. He escapes, but the toys are now at risk of being impounded. So he recruits his brothers and April to move the dolls into their van and deliver them. The story ends with the turtles in April in holiday costumes distributing toys. Donnie #1 is one that's near and dear to my heart as a man who looks up to Jack Kirby. You've got Donatello meets Kirby. Kirby in the Warp Crystal investigates a mysterious Warp Crystal, and the situation. Then we have my personal favorite of the one-shots, Donatello #1, Kirby and the Warp Crystal, where Donatello meets Kirby, investigates a mysterious Warp Crystal, and the situation turns into an interdimensional crisis. A portal to another world with monsters opens. Kirby uses his drawing in a direct, practical way, creating what Donatello needs. And when the portal starts collapsing, Kirby forces Donatello back through and leaves him a note and a drawing. These one-shots are Mirage saying the canon is not only plot, it's who these guys are when the plot isn't yelling at you. #8 picks back up with the main story and introduces Renette, apprentice to Lord Simultaneous, stealing a time scepter with sacred sands of time, accidentally transporting herself to New York, where she runs into the turtles on a rooftop. Chased by Simultaneous, Renette panics and sends them any place on Earth before humans recorded time, where they collide with Cerberus, and then Savanti Romero, who wants the scepter. Savanti overpowers them with magic and steals it. They attempt a castle assault. Savante conjures undead, and when it looks hopeless, Lord Simultaneous arrives and defeats Savante, then sends the turtles home. Mirage has now officially opened the third lane of its identity. We had street level, we had sci-fi, and now we have the mythic and time-based part of Mirage storytelling. Issue #9, The Passing, is a different kind of expansion. It enlarges Splinter's role beyond trainer. Splinter senses someone is searching the astral plane, finds Gosei Hatsumi. Splinter senses someone searching the astral plane and finds Gosei Hatsumi dying in Japan, and learns Hatsumi needs help passing the spirit force of the Gosei samurai clan. But his son Kenji is in New York and has become a crime boss. Hatsumi wants the spirit passed instead to his grandson Hattori. The ritual requires physical presence, so Hatsumi and Splinter exchange spirits, and Hatsumi, in Splinter's body, leads the turtles into the building where Kenji operates. The turtles discover Kenji's criminal world and an assassination plot. Kenji is killed in the struggle, and Hatsumi uses the crest symbol from Hattori's recurring dreams to calm him and convince him to accept the spirit force. The transfer succeeds, Hatsumi dies, Splinter returns to himself, and when an assassin attacks, Hattori is able to defeat him, now carrying the spirits of his ancestors. Splinter warns him what he does with that power is his choice, and he must choose wisely. Mirage is again expanding what counts as a battle. Sometimes it's fist, and sometimes it's galaxies, and sometimes it is the inheritance of a soul. Next, we round out the miniseries with Leonardo #1, which is structured as a parallel story around the holiday season. It includes the cat Clunk, brought into the canon in Mikey's one-shot, and it brings back the central nightmare. Shredder is not done. The story ends with Leo crashing through April's window, warning that the Shredder has returned. TMNT #10 detonates the situation. Foot soldiers assault April's apartment and trash it while the turtles escape into the sewers. They regroup at a junk shop, and Shredder is waiting. A fight breaks out. Casey shows up and helps, and the chaos escalates into fire and police response. The group escapes through a freezer exit, watches the building burn, and flees the city with Casey pulling a U-Haul, heading to Northampton, Mass. From here, issue number 11 is the emotional landing gear. It's framed through April's diary after the foot attack, tracking their winter at Casey's grandmother's farmhouse and the psychological damage the events have done to everyone. We see Leo hunting alone, stressed and shaken. Donnie obsessively repairing the homestead and writing on a typewriter. Donnie training in intense, almost manic workouts. And Raph on watch, isolating himself. Casey and Raph wrecking the windmill and the truck in the snow, and April falling through ice and Leo rescuing her. Splinter finally calls them back together, knowing that if they drift apart, they'll never survive. April comes to a hard clarity about what matters, ending on hope that life is good and life goes on. The final image is the turtles bringing her breakfast in bed, and that's where early expansion ends. Not with a big boss fight, but with the cost of survival and family finally catching up.